This is a really interesting video I've got coming up for you now. I've just interviewed John Lehmkuhl and Paul Carter from talking about Unify 2. Unify 2 is a plug-in host synthesizer engine that's lets you combine multiple engines, synth engines, synth plugins and plugins into a single sort of synth engine, and you can create some fantastically layered and complex sounds. It's an amazing tool and musical instrument, and John and Paul are going to explain about it. So let's get straight to John. Paul and John, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
It's really exciting. Yeah, it's great to meet you. I'm really excited to get you on the show because you've got a really interesting new synth product you want to talk about, and I've had a play with it and kind of blown away by it. Just before we delve into that, though, just give us a bit of a background on who you are, because John, I know your name specifically from when I'm going through my patches on some of the synths. I recognise the name.
Yeah, well, I'm John Lehmkuhl. I own PlugInGuru.com. I live in Idaho. I moved here from Portland, where I lived for like 18 years or so to be closer to my mom and dad, see them more often. But I have been a sound designer since 1988. I started with Korg as a product specialist, and then I actually worked at a music store before I joined Korg, and I made sounds for the Korg M1 that just had come out. And once I joined Korg, they sent this bank of sounds that I made in Seattle to Japan, and they ended up hiring. They said, well, these are great sounds. We want to put them on this drum card we're going to release for the M1. So from that point on, I've been into real-time making patches as a living. So in 2009, I started PlugInGuru, and 2020, I released Unify version 1, and that was done with Shane Dunn, who is a wonderful Canadian that helped. And Unify is a host that loads all of your plugins and lets you play with them in really cool, fun, creative ways. And we came to the point of getting ready to work on Unify 2, and very much in the Canadian spirit, Shane goes, I think we should find someone more qualified for Unify 2 than me, which you don't hear people in America say stuff like that. So, and he had been working with Paul and said, Paul, of all the software people I know in the industry, is the most qualified, because the thing with Unify is it's MIDI effects, audio effects, instruments, interface, browser, controllers. It's everything. So it's not just someone that can put a filter and an oscillator and an envelope together. It's got to be far more complex than that. And as Paul will explain, he's got a background where he's gone pretty deep in all sorts of places. So I think this is pulling out every ounce of creative energy he's got to do what Unify does. But he had a vision for Unify 2 that he shared about a year ago, and it looked great. And we signed him on board, and a year later, here we are with it just about to be released. Actually, by the time you see this, it will have been released. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Just before we go to Paul as well, I just wanted to say we're going to try and set something up for later in the year to get you on the show to talk vintage and M1s and everything.
We can talk trips to Japan, and I'd be happy to share all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, that's the reason I recommended you, Ian, because I thought Skippy has such an interesting background, and I thought you'd be really interested in talking to him about all of his experience with Korg, etc. Sound design.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've had a couple of we had Ski on, and we've had a few Dan Phillips, so we've had a few from Korg.
Yes.
So yeah, from the history of Korg. So yeah, I think we're definitely we'll do that in the future.
Absolutely, yes. My pleasure.
Yeah. So over to you, Paul. How did you get into this?
So I have an engineering background. I did electronic engineering at university and dabbled in some DSP coding back then. That was after having done an internship at Texas Instruments, where my project was DSP guitar effects and an FM synthesizer. But ever since then, I hadn't really done any kind of audio work. I've done embedded products development, and I was in Hong Kong for 7 years doing commercial products, helping a team develop radio receiver products. And through that job, I got a link to Intel in Hong Kong. And Intel Hong Kong eventually brought me over to the US. And after various department switches over now I think it was 10 years at Intel in the US, I eventually ended up in a department called the advertising department, and we were developing interactive visuals and audio. And the reason I got into that department was because I claimed to know about how to write synthesizers, and I hadn't really touched synthesizer code for 10 years or so. But I told them I was an expert on sound synthesis, and so I developed a modular synthesizer for Intel for their interactive displays and for VR experiences. And I did that work for a few years. But eventually that department got shut down, and I was looking to sort of show off my skill set. So I decided I should probably develop a plugin. And that's when I worked on Hyperion, which is a modular synth plugin. And through that work and through the various trade shows I attended, I eventually met John. And I was amazed to meet John, because I remember John from like having played on my Wavestation keyboard, which was the first synth I ever bought myself. And I remember his name on those patches. And yeah, it's my favorite. At least it was, back then. And so I was very interested to chat with John, and that's when I found out about Unify. And actually, at the same time, I was on the Juice forum, which is a developer forum for plugin developers. And I was chit-chatting with Shane, and we were discussing technical complications of Apple Silicon multi-threading support. And, I got to know Shane that way, just exchanging messages and having a few video calls with him. And I think that's the reason that he suggested to John that we should get in touch to talk about Unify 2.
Yes.
So that's kind of the history of how that all happened. And I met John at Synthplex a few years ago, and he came down to San Jose last October.
Yeah.
Around this time of year, actually. We started talking about what we might do and how we might take Unify 2 a little bit further. And Shane, who is the original developer, has been super helpful with the transition of the knowledge. He's always been available to me, and he's been very kind to let us take it over completely and give us his source code and give us his approval to take it further.
Yeah. And so the concept behind Unity, I'll let you explain it, but I can see why you've arrived at it, because as I've done sound patches on the multipoly and on the wave state, you're always wanting a bit more of this and a bit more of that. Right. And then, so I guess as a sound designer, John, this is where you came to it, because you wanted a bit more of everything. So what is the concept behind Unity?
Well, Unify.
Unify, sorry.
Yes, it's okay. It does Unity everything too. So, well, my background, as you know, is in working with workstations and synthesizers with Korg. And Korg synthesizers have a combination mode where you're able to layer different sounds together to make more complex things you do find in the patch mode. And so I wanted a combination mode for plugins. That's really where the concept came from, was just I wanted a place to play with we own all these plugins. Where can you layer and stack them and come up with new combinations? The advantage of this over just one synthesizer is that each, when I worked on a Korg synth, we only had 32 voices of polyphony. So if I layered strings and brass and orchestra and something else, I'd have 4 notes of polyphony, and it'd go, bah, and then it'd choke, Inside of Unify, because each layer is its own plugin with its own voices, its own effects, you don't have that issue. So you can just layer to your heart's content different plugins, and you're relying on the polyphony count of each of those plugins. They don't have to share between each other. So you can do amazing things. Early on in the voicing of Unify 1, I must give a shout out to Laurent Veronez, Airwave, this wonderful programmer that's a dear friend of mine. He made some patches for Unify 1, and much to Shane's surprise and my surprise, he was loading Unify as a plugin into Unify. And it was causing all sorts of problems because he was using like the VST2 version of the plugin, and then customers that didn't have, they had the VST or the audio unit only installed, the patches wouldn't work, and we were like, oh no, what's going on? And so Shane went, you know what, I'm just going to build Unify as a plugin inside of Unify. And so that opened up this really, I can demonstrate just with audio. I won't share the screen for this, but check this out. I mean, the thing with Unify is that you can save a patch, right? So that you can call it back using any plugin you own. I've just got the factory patches here, but I could go to piano, and all I have to do is I click to load it. So now I'm playing, you know. And then if I want, I can go to any other sound in Unify, and because of the way it's set up, with a button click, I could click on a pad, and now I've added a pad. And I could click 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I've got 5 sounds laid with the piano. Just with clicks, I've added 5 patches. Yeah. So being able to load its own patches. That's kind of your
sound designer. So that's kind of your sound designer in you, isn't it? Just like, yeah, this is what I want.
It's like everybody wants to play with their plugins. And in a DAW, you've got one channel strip, and then if you're able to configure between one to another one to talk to each other and stuff like that, in Unify, it's just a click. And we have saved out the factory patches to over 100 plugins. So if you own Serum 2 or all the Cherry Audio synths, all of the factory patches are saved as patches as a free download from our website, so that you have those patches immediately inside of Unify to work with. And so now you can, it's a doggy park for plugins. All these different companies are great at bringing out something that highlights and lets you play with their specific plugins, but they don't go beyond those walls. It's very risky, and it's not really to the benefit of a company to do that. So I kind of said, I want to do that myself. So I'm agnostic to plugins.
Yeah, I was going to say, so that's the key thing then, isn't it? It's not just because I've played with and you've got all these engines in there. I was thinking, yes. Oh, that's great, there's loads of engines. But what you said is you can also use your own. So if I've got the GX80, the Cherry Audio one,
right,
I can add that to a patch that also is combined with multi-poly native.
In any plugin that you have on your computer is easily able to be recognized and available. In fact, one of the cool things with Unify is that it can load in one patch. It can load an audio unit plugin, a VST2 plugin, and a VST3 plugin. And you could be using the audio unit version of it inside of Logic while you're doing this. So it's very smart with how it kind of like strips. I mean, if there's any message to the world, I wish we could come to just one plugin format. Because the amount of work Paul has to do, I can't write code. So this is my dream. I'd made a Photoshop document in like 2019, 2018 that started this adventure with Shane. You know, there's so much work I see Shane have to do and Paul have to do, and even working with the Korg guys on the monopoly and on the wave state and the other synths that I've worked on, trying to get things to work between the different formats. There's just, it's a joke that we have to make for 4 or 5 different formats the same plugin, you know, because different companies refuse to all agree on one standard. So if this would have happened with MIDI, we would still not have MIDI, but it didn't. You know, Roland and Dave Smith came together and said, hey, let's make one thing, and we agree to it. And that way there's plugs still on synthesizers you can plug in. And plug-in formats has never had that open.
Well, there is
sharing
flap coming now. It's not yet a standard feature of the Juice API, which is what we use for our development. But clap is an open standard that's free to use. There's no license requirement, at least no closed license requirement. So that'll probably be something we'll be supporting in future, and hopefully everybody will be supporting it in their host applications.
Yes. And then we can drop out support of everything else. I mean, Steinberg, they started and they had the VST to the VST2 format. In the last handful of years, they have purposefully tried to kill the VST2 format. Like, Paul doesn't have the license to write a VST2 plugin. So he has to only make VST3 an audio unit for the 2 plugin support, because Steinberg stopped giving out licenses to developers about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe a little more, for VST2. So they're purposely manipulating things in ways that make it really hard to support them, and you have to update and change things, and so it's a lot of work.
It's all good. That's
all good.
That's what we're doing.
Part of the job.
We do that, and we try to make it easy for everybody to integrate whatever plugin they want to use.
Yes.
Unify lets you load a lot of different formats, stack them together, split them up. Yep. And that's the power of Unify, layering things and setting velocity splits and key zones. Yeah. And then you can save your plugin setups as a patch, so you can always recall them really easily. That's a big advantage over, say, trying to do something like that in a DAW. You find it much harder to save a preset like that. And if you have like a multi-layer, multi-plugin preset, you can load it into an embedded instance of Unify and have it sit side by side with another patch that's also been developed to have multiple plugins and multiple layers and splits. So it's super powerful.
In Unify 2, Paul has taken a number of things farther. We now have 32 macro knobs that you can assign. There's a little ear. You move any parameter of plugin, and now it's attached to this knob. There's now an LFO on all 32 knobs. So you have 32 and when you start dealing with audio effects, it gets really fun, because there's all these audio effects people make. Some are really inexpensive or free. You can find them all the time. And because they're so inexpensive, they just didn't spend the time developing LFOs and things to move the parameters in the plugin. And with Unify 2, just hit the run button, and now you can have all these parameters in all these plugins changing and doing really cool things. So between that, there's now integrated recording. If you have, like, this patch right here is 8 sounds. If I wanted to, I could hit record, and it could record it either as stereo, or it could record it where each of the 8 layers is a separate stem, so that I would then be able to edit it later and master it if I wanted to, like, do different treatment to different things. It's also saving MIDI at the same time. And there's a metronome now inside of Unify that can play any MIDI-based drum groove that we've made in all of our patch libraries and stuff as the metronome. So you can immediately have something to practice piano to, or to jam to, or to compose to. That's more than just a click in your head,
Yeah.
So lots of fun stuff.
I like the idea of that. So if I could say, okay, I want a DX7 and I want some orchestral strings, but I also want a nice pad sound from the multi-poly I've just made, and I want that with a wave sequence going in the background from the wave state, and I want to save that combination because I'm going to use it on 2 or 3 different tracks. So like you said before, if I was doing it in a DAW, it would be a lot of work, and I'd have to be copying and pasting. And so this, you make a performance from those combinations. That's really powerful.
That's one patch.
Yeah.
We're also bringing in support for hardware instruments, so you can actually pipe audio into the layers in Unify, and then you can send MIDI out to your hardware and bring the audio in. So you could treat your hardware like just another layer in the patch, and you can save those patches, of course. Yeah. And so that's adds a lot of fun too. Yeah. Because we support multi-in and multi-out now in Unify 2, which is a new feature too. So if you have multi-speaker setup, you could direct one sounds to one of the speakers and another to another.
Also have the MIDI out now too. So you have audio inputs, audio outputs, and MIDI out. So you can be controlling your modular system and having your modular system piped into your environment in real time. Jam with it while you're jamming with your plugins and save that as a mix for your record project.
And this is both for the standalone version and for the plugin version. So the hosts that do support multi-in, then you could, hosts like Reaper and pretty flexible with audio routing. Other hosts, I think you can just take the sidechain input from other tracks and then feed it into one of your layers, and then you could process an external track through Unify, both with MIDI and audio. You could use the MIDI effects within Unify to process your MIDI input from your keyboard, and then also take the audio from one of your tracks and feed it through some of the effects in your Unify patch. And then you can also have the virtual multiple outs of Unify feeding into multiple DAW tracks if you want to do that too. So in Logic, I was just testing it a couple of days ago because somebody asked a question on the forum, but in the mixer panel, you can just click the little plus button and you can keep adding buses for the outputs of Unify. So you can have up to 16 stereo outputs that you can send audio to.
I think it's 8 stereo for 16.
No, it's
total,
16.
Right?
It's 16.
Oh,
16
is it 16?
stereo. Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
So my multi-combination patch, which I created a minute ago, I could then in say Cubase get the output of each one as a separate audio.
Yeah. Right. You don't even have to record stems using the recording feature. You can just pipe those out by sending the audio from each layer individually to a different virtual output.
So then you play it, and it would just be automatically sending to the different outputs that you need.
You just need to set up your tracks in your DAW to read in those audio feeds.
It's a mind shift from just using multiple plugins on multiple tracks in the DAW. It's a different way of approaching. But I guess you can see like you said earlier on, where you came from, because you can see it from, say, on a Wave station. You had the patch and the performances. I think it's patch and performances on the Wave station. On the multipoly, I've got layers and performances, but it's that kind of thing.
Right.
But more than one synth.
It's more than one. So you read interviews with all sorts of people working on records, and I use 5 sounds for this really cool synth patch that you can do that easily and save it as a patch in Unify, panning each thing to different places and stuff like that.
There's another really useful reason for using Unify is that a lot of plugins are not taking full advantage of multi-core processing. And one of the things that Unify does is every layer, every track effectively is running on a separate thread. So you can load very complex plugins and have them take advantage of the multi-threading capabilities of your CPU. One of the things you can also do is use a built-in MIDI plugin called Polybox. So you could take a monophonic plugin, a monosynth, and you could load it up on 16 layers, for example, and then you could have a 16 voice polyphonic synth built from that monosynth, because it will split the voices intelligently across those layers.
Right.
So there's lots of little tricks like that you can do. You can also do a kind of rudimentary form of wave sequencing effectively, where you can switch layers through. I think, is it Polybox as well that does that, John?
Yes. Yeah.
So you can cycle through the individual layers that are active at any point in time, and it will step through the layers. And as you're playing, you'll hear the sound switching through the different layers that you've got, which could be different plugins, or they could be the same plugin with some slightly different settings.
Do you want me to share the screen and show you Unify 2 real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go share over here, and we'll say share. All right. So you see Unify 2?
Yep.
All right. So this is the interface to Unify 2 now. Just as a really quick, this is Unify 1, which is where we're coming from. So with Unify 1, the graphics were not so much the priority as the functionality. And so if you call up a patch, like if we go to the standard library, and let's call up something like, let's just say, here's one of the more complex patches with lots of layers. That's what it looks like. Now in Unify 2, it looks like this. So let's go up to the top. Same library, same patch, and it looks different. And one of the places it's different is that layers now can be compressed, and you can click a button, and now they expand. But the layers stay separate from the auxiliaries. We basically work like a mixer where you have, this is 10 layers, so it's got 10 different Unify layers playing or crazy, going crazy with chords up here, and it's doing a lot of stuff. And you just have a lot of more information about it. Down here are the auxiliary buses in blue, and then everything goes to the master output in the magenta color down here. So you kind of see a flow to how it works. And you just have a browser, and we have tons of libraries. New to Unify 2, we're adding what's called the Super Mega Sampler, which is choice cuts from 27 libraries all put into one library. So you can go over here, and there's anything from trailer hits and stuff like this from a library called Renegade. You know, that type of, oh, I've still got Unify 1 playing. So Unify, thank you. Bye-bye. Have them all playing at once. But there's 422 patches inside of the Super Mega Sampler, including drum grooves. Here, I'll show you a quick demo of the drum groove stuff. So, like, this is actually a drum groove that was used on a Crystal Method album. So it's really fun to have it inside of Unify. And if I change this mode right here to this button, anything I click from any other patch, so I could go to a whole different library, like, instead of this, let's use something from like, this is from the Lin drum, so we add that.
Right.
And if I go, I want to add Offspring. And then this is me banging on my piano and making a drum kit that I've added, so.
So what we're adding here is actually a whole instance of Unify running in the layer.
Right.
It's actually
so
a whole
we expanded
other.
this. Each one of these is a separate patch with its own auxiliary buses and its own master effects for each one of these layers. So there's 4 layers. Each one of these could be an unlimited number of tracks. It could be 4. I mean, it used to be that we had a limit, I think, of 24 or so for the layers in Unify. And Paul has done away with that. So that if you want, I could sit here and I could click, and there's hundreds and hundreds of grooves here. Here, this is here's 12 grooves.
Now you're just trying to break it, John.
I know. Well, my job is to try to break it, especially in our beta time, right? So, but that's the power, is that anything you see here for any library, if I wanted to take this and then go over here to another library like here, and I want to call up like a string pad. Let's do this. I'm going to hold down Option, and this way I can turn on all the volumes together so that these guys are softer. And then I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to say I want a magical slow phase string. So now I have... just like that. And I go, oh, now I want to add a really cool rhythmic kind of pulsing thing. So we have all these BPM pads and stuff. So I could go over here and let me find, I'm going to type WS for wave sequencing because Paul mentioned this. Let's go over here to, let's go here to the wave sequence Silk, and let's add that. So now I've added if I open up this one Unify layer, it's a whole bunch of Unify layers, patches inside of Unify patches. It can get to be a very deep
programming.
It's crazy. So, like this one is all these layers, and we can go over here and change our view to show us the keyboards, so you can see it's doing wave sequencing. It's cycling between all these layers thanks to a MIDI effect that we've called Polybox. It just takes each note and each one gets advanced to the next MIDI channel. So it's just crazy. So that's one layer. If I solo this, let's see. Oh, this is left hand. And then here, where's the right hand? So we have the pad. You can see in the key ranges here where everything's at. So, yeah, that's the power, is that you can just play and experiment. And we all have too many plugins. We all have too many patches already. Where do you play with them and really let them like get together and commingle? And so that's what Unify is all about.
Yeah, and it's sort of the syncing out and everything else. It's and the key, like you said, with the getting the keys on and everything. But yeah, it's like Inception programming because you go down another layer and into another layer. But that's
Yes.
amazing. That wave sequencing of
Yes.
multiple synth engines is brilliant.
It's a very easy thing to do. Also inside of Unify 2, Paul created a completely new. Here, let's do this. Let me just slow this one layer. A new synth. This is Guru Sampler 2 and Guru Sampler 1. Let's see if I come over here and say add an empty layer and go over here and say Guru Sampler 1. Guru Sampler 1 was basically your simple player. You know, you've got loading up the sample waveforms, and I did have some tricks. There's random sample start and, you know, all sorts of things like that. The LFO, you could go and you could create custom shapes and stuff like that, which is really fun. But it wasn't much of a powerhouse besides that. So it served its purpose for a long time. But Paul has done some serious work to create Unify Guru Sampler 2. And as you can see, there's 3 LFOs, and they're working on this sound. It's changing filter settings, aftertouch. If you right-click on any parameter, like here's the rate for the LFO, it opens up a window where you can easily change the synths to any of the modulation sources and destinations that we have here to work with. And that's just one layer. So if you take this and put it into the bigger picture, it's got a lot of stuff going on just in this 3 layers. So it's a voicing tool too. It's not just a simple host. It goes far deeper than that into, especially now. And then you go to the macro knobs, and like I mentioned, if I was to go, let's make it simpler because this is too complicated. So let's go back to just this sound playing here, right? Let's say I want this, I want to play with a filter cutoff, right? So all I have to do is right click, hit the little ear, so it's blinking, then go to Guru Sampler 2 and move this, and it grabs it. So now this knob sounds like a truck outside my house. But if I go over here and I hit run, it's now moving and dancing. And so I have my intensity. And I don't want it to go that low, so I can click right here and change. And unlike any other synth I know of, when you click on a parameter to change the rates, the depths, and so forth, here you can hear it in real time. So I can hear exactly where it's at. So, and that's one parameter. There's no limit to how many parameters you can have on one knob. There's 32 knobs. If you want, you can just click here and say, and instead of a knob, this needs to be a fader. So I go up here, and now it's a fader. And so now you see it as a fader. And also new to Unify 2 is this wonderful play page where you can see things without the whole programming interface and layers and so forth. And as you see, the fader is right here dancing away. And you can grab it and change it while it's dancing. Get exactly how you want it to be. We've got lovely background images now that you can choose. If you want to have this for your background, but then you want to put a solid color on it. And it's like, oh, but I want to combine the two, so you can bring it so it just shows up a little bit because we have faders, or I want to color it with a color overlay. There's all sorts of ways of working with graphics inside of Unify 2, because to us, the sound and the visuals kind of should be tied together.
Right, and these graphics are saved per patch. So if you pick a picture that you want that goes with a particular sound, when you save your patch, it references that image. But another thing that we have is anybody that's developing a library can add a media folder where they can define an image if they want per patch in their library.
Yep.
So we've got quite a lot of libraries actually now that actually have custom images for every patch that the patch developer made.
Right.
And it's quite inspiring. I find it quite inspiring to see the images from the developer that they've decided go well with the sound. John's got some really nice guitar pictures in his guitar library.
This is a guitar library we just released called Mega Magic Guitars 5, and it was double stringed instruments. So there's 12 string, here's picked, and as you see, there's a picture of the guitar. But then there's also electric guitars, and so for that, I have samples of the guitar that I sampled. And it's a 12-string electric, so it's got that.
Right, Genesis.
It's that vintage vibe kind of thing. Yeah. And then there's also a mandolin that I sampled, and then down here are all these really cool sounds. Let's play just a regular guitar first, like Antarctica alone, of course, that's a whole different place. So the image matches. And if I go to the play page, I don't even see this interface. It's just me in the Antarctics, you know? We have MIDI file players and stuff that did all the wave sequencing that I showed earlier. So we use that for strumming, all sorts of things like that. So here's like the Wild West. So you call this up, you just play a chord. So
speaking of strumming, we've just included the latest version of BlueArp as one of the bundled plugins, and that has a nice strum feature with it. Right. And we also bundle Dext and OBXD. As we have permission from those developers to include it with Unify 2. So quite a lot of the factory library patches are actually built with those plugins, as well as the built-in sampler.
Yeah, the idea is that, and inside of Unify 2, we've taken this quite a bit farther. If we go to the standard library and we just call up just like a simpler patch, let's go to something simple like, these are environmental sounds I recorded in Costa Rica, like waves and so forth. But if I open up, one nice thing is that if you click here and you say, I want to use Guru Sampler 2, it will update automatically and convert this patch to Guru Sampler 2. And this list of libraries, all these U2 are the new samples added from 27 different libraries. So if I don't want to play that, if I want to go to Eternal Flow, and here's select patches from Eternal Flow, which has these really, really cool things like, like this is pretty cool. Or Bouncing Wood Spirit. And the visual shows you what the sample is while you're playing it, you know? So all these sounds are available for making patches for a customer, but also for people making libraries, because you can combine any of the sounds in this huge list along with your own samples. There's actually free tools to load multiple sample maps that you could create of your own samples. There's now an import button right here, which allows you to import a single sample right now. And we plan to expand that support to be multi-samples, have a little bit more user-friendly interface when we get to that stage probably. But you can get your own sounds into this engine to work with them and play with them and have all sorts of fun. So it's very powerful. Yeah.
So I mean, you creating a movie soundtrack. This is the tool you need.
Well, yeah. Anywhere you want to just get any kind of an idea and try to flesh it out with, this is the standalone. I'm not even running a DAW right now, and so some of the new patches, if I hit U2, I can see the new patches that are in here. If you go to something like Lost in the Abyss, this is a patch that also shows off a really cool feature. There's a metronome, and I mentioned how it could be more than a click, and I'm actually using it in this patch. So it starts without it, but once you turn it on, so I can flesh out a whole song without having to sit there and record pass after pass I can play and interact with it. And then I could take this into my DAW and go over here and change the MIDI channel to different channels for each of the layers if I wanted to, like, now flush it out in a sequencing environment. But for just to be a creative place to come up with your ideas, there's not enough places like that. And so that's what we wanted to create. And that's what Unify does.
It almost reminds you, you see those the clips of Vangelis, sort of later years of Vangelis, when he was, he had that whole thing, didn't he, of what you're saying, though, if he just plays, he's not setting the door up, he's playing.
Yes. Well, my background, I come from playing Yamaha Electone organs, which is what Vangelis was playing. Those were Yamaha instruments in a lot of cases. They have aftertouch on the keyboards. They had the rhythm sections. They had 3 sections and your bass pedals. So I come from just a background of wanting to have more than just one sound to play at a time. And there's so many cool plugins that do one sound at a time really, really well. But there's not a place that you can put them all together and let them, like, be a doggy park and play with chase after the same ball and, do all that kind of fun stuff that, plugins like to play together. And so this kind of shows that off as a test case that works really well.
Yeah. I mean, you're combining the best of all worlds. So say you want an FM patch with a sample drum library and you want a wave sequence from it. You could bring the wave station, the Korg legacy plugin or whatever. You could just bring it all together.
If we go over here to my settings, to my plugin list right here, I'm currently accessing 2,076 plugins. So, I'm called the PlugInGuru for a reason, because I like plugins. And if I want to go over here and say Korg and call up the stuff that I can't right now, because I can't show you some of the stuff they're working on that's coming out pretty soon. But you can do that. You can say, if I say multi-poly, multi-poly, there it is. Boom. And now it's just one of the layers inside of my patch.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That.
And if I go over here and I hit record, let's see, I've got this set to MIDI, and let's change it to be all layers. So I hit record. There, I just recorded my stinger for this commercial I have to get done. If I hit right, there's all the stems and the MIDI file. Just like that. Done. I can go to one of these instruments, like here's the multi-poly on layer 1. Oh, wait, this is the MIDI data. So if we go over here to audio, here's the master.
Oh, it's not coming through. I guess the
it's
Zoom,
not coming through.
Sorry, the Teams call is not letting it through.
Yeah.
Anyway, trust me, if here, I'll double click. Double click. There. It's there.
Yeah.
It recorded it, I promise.
Yeah.
So that's how immediate it
quick,
can be
isn't
for
it?
ideas.
Yeah. And I suppose having you be able to use your own plugins, it means the learning curve is not that steep, because I know the multi-poly plugin, so great, I can just put something straight in that I've already done and start to learn the tool that way.
Yeah, it opens up a new way of programming. It's a different concept where instead of a synthesizer and oscillators, you think of each synthesizer as an oscillator, so that you start building using components that are strengths of different synthesizers together to make the sound you want. And you're not doing it all in one environment, trying to share the same 3 LFOs that have 4 modulation assignments on them. I mean, it's a whole different concept. So we're basically the one ring to rule them all kind of concept for put all your plugins together, and they all can do crazy things inside of this environment,
And then you said, so I could then do all that, get something ready, and then if I did want to use it in Cubase, I use it as a plugin in Cubase.
Yeah, it's available as I'm running Logic right now, and so.
And then you can either record just the stereo output, or like I said earlier, you can pipe individual layers to specific tracks if you needed to.
Yeah, no, here's the plugin running inside of Logic. So you can work it in whatever environment you want. It's cross-platform. So if you're on a PC, you can share patches with your Mac brothers and sisters. And if you're on a Mac, I make a library once, and everyone with Unify, whether they're on a Mac or PC, can load the libraries. So the other big plus for Unify, and this is an important one for me, is that as a content creator, I can protect these libraries so that there is a license number for it, and without it, the data is just scrambled.
Right, and not just John, but anybody that wants to make
anybody that
libraries
wants to
for
can
Unify,
communicate with us. Yeah,
they can have their library encrypted before it goes on sale, so all the samples will be protected.
Yes. So
really good,
I don't make. I did 40 libraries for Omnisphere. I was the first programmer to release a third-party library for Omnisphere, and what was that? I can't remember when it was, but it was 2011, something like that. And you can go find all those libraries on eBay for like pennies, And so I don't really do voicing and programming work and sell libraries for anything other than Unify, because here I can make something that's protected. Hackers, they seem to like our pricing and the way that we work. And, we do live streams every Saturday. I do tons of video support on how to program and how to use our tools and stuff. So they're protected. And so that is a really nice feeling, knowing that it's just, I release a library at the end of the times I was doing Omnisphere libraries, within a week of releasing the library, it was out on torrent sites.
The samples are protected, but they're all there. Once you own the license to that library, you can use those samples in any of your patches.
Yeah.
Once you've unlocked that library, it's available to you forever. So you've got all those samples at your disposal to make new Unify patches.
Yep.
Even
so here's all
those
those
samples
different
are used in a
libraries.
specific library.
If I go to that Mega Magic Guitar library and click, here's all the different sample maps that were created for it. So it can be extensive, big, powerful libraries. One thing that we want to do in the future is add streaming of audio. That's one thing we don't have right now. So it needs to load the sounds in memory. So we're not quite ready for people that want to do like 8 gigabyte orchestral libraries. We'll get there, but we're step at a time. But it's a great place to play, and it's protected so that you can be creative and know that people will pay for what you've created instead of just downloading it and using it without you knowing that they've downloaded it. So
yeah, I think it's a brilliant idea. I mean, when I first tried it the other day, it's the first time I'd seen it, and it looks complicated when you first open it. It was version 1 that I tried first. This now looks a bit easier, but as soon as I got the concept that it was you could have all your different plugins in that one place. It's actually really easy. It's the opposite to a DAW. It's just, I guess you get. I mean, a lot of forums and Reddits and things, people are going to go DAW-less and all this, but it's DAW-less, but for plugin enthusiasts almost.
Right.
It's a great way of, because that's what puts me off. And I've got, I've got loads of plugins as well, the Korg collection and all these other Cherry Audio. But sometimes I just want to sit and play the sounds, and I don't want to work out what MIDI channels I'm thinking about. I just want to play.
There's quite a few people that actually use Unify for live performance reasons, because it's just a great way to layer up things, and also because of the automation, you can actually enable and disable layers live as you're playing. You could use a MIDI controller to toggle layers on and off and disable individual layers, and a layer could be an entire Unify instance. So you could basically have different programs set up on each layer, and then you could switch between them in a song, for example.
There's so many amazing tools in Unify. It's like it's one of those, it's hard to describe what it can do. It takes a little while to really show it because, there's so much power.
I think it takes, it took me about 10, 20 minutes, and now I get it. So that's
Well, the connection to just loading it up is the basic, easy, fast part, and then you start realizing how much deeper you can go, and it's kind of like, you can do that. There's no limit to how many things on one knob, so one knob can literally change 16 layers of your favorite plugins all at one time to go. I mean, it's just whatever you want to do, you can do. It's like open brain, as creative as you can go environment.
It's a really deep. it's a sound designer's like paradise, isn't it? You know,
It is.
When you're doing sound design, you get stuck by the limitations of the hardware or the plugin, and
All the time, right?
Yeah, you can just add another bit to it, another layer, and
right.
Yeah,
Or,
it's amazing.
There's almost 70 plugins built into Unify. So there's EQ and high pass filters and compressors and distortion and 10 different reverbs. There's a lot of tools here before you even have to reach out to other tools. So, yeah.
It's one of those things. I think that, like I say, it's after 10 minutes or so, you can start playing with it, but it's one of those tools that you'll just get a lot of use out of because you can just keep going and keep going deeper and deeper and deeper in it.
Yep. Deeper than even Unify 1. I mean, there's a lot of new places to play.
Yeah,
so
and speaking of the depth of it and how it might be slightly overwhelming, I think John is going to do a tutorial series of videos.
Yes.
And obviously we've got online resources, we have a forum, we have a Discord. So there is support out there to learn how to use it. We're just in the process of finishing off the user guide. It's quite a big one, quite a lot of stuff to describe.
Yeah.
The forum, the live streams, John does a stream every week to demonstrate the features or new patches or new libraries, or he often actually just demonstrates new plugins on the market because it's always very interesting to us in terms of how can we use them in these multi-layer designs and how can we leverage those new plugins on the market.
Yeah.
One of the newest features that John demonstrated last week was the audio in capability. So he had a vocal processing plugin.
Right.
And so we used that, and with for some reason it wasn't working in the stream, but right after the stream it was working. The MIDI keys could be used to drive the vocoder.
Check this out. So
drive the notes.
It's so easy. I just go over here and say audio input, and I got to have a knit patch to start. So then I can go over here and go like this and go audio input, and there we go. And I just want to use the left side, so there, and then I can go over here to my audio effect. There's an audio effect called Evoke, and just like this, I now have it running through this vocoder processor. And I can go over here to MIDI, and now you can play the chords, and it'll change my patches. So I could go over here to like some harmony things like this, and changes to chords. And now I'm playing keys on my keys, and getting it to play chords. It's so cool, just like that, to sound like Jacob Collier. I mean, that's how immediate it can be. It's easy.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so, as you said at the beginning, this is out now. I'm going to release this video just once the plugin's released. Where can people go and check this out and try it?
At our website, pluginguru.com. That's the exclusive one place to get this plugin. So come visit us.
And how much is it?
It is $149. It has an introductory price until November 9th. There's also an upgrade price available to all existing Unify 1 owners. That is at a special pricing until October 9th, or November 9th. I'm sorry, November 9th.
What's the introductory price, John?
The introductory price is $99 new if you're a new user, and $49 to upgrade from Unify 1. And that ends November 9th. So,
well, that's a good price considering what you're getting there. This huge library of sounds and plugins and integration with all your own plugins. It's amazing. It's something I haven't seen before, and from the sound design point of view, as soon as I saw it, wow, this is going to open up a lot of opportunities. And I think it's going to be one of those things where you're going to lose many hours just playing.
It's fun.
Just playing with it.
A lot of our customers that buy, I have over 40 libraries for Unify alone. And the majority of our customers are not session musicians working on records. They're people that have a day job, and they come home and they just want to unload and chill and play some nice inspiring sounds and create music, and some of them turn them into albums, and some of them is just for their own spiritual reinforcement to play music is a great source for keeping sane. So Unify is a nice place to just sit.
That's why I have all this gear. It's not because I'm a music producer. It's just, this is my chill out workstation where I just rest my brain at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got
this is the software version of that.
Me and stuff over there. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. But that's it. That's what I'm saying. It's like, it is that immediacy that you don't get from going through a DAW. So yeah, that's what I really like. Yeah, I can't wait to spend some more time with it. I think it's absolutely brilliant. So I really appreciate you coming on the show to talk about it.
Thank you for your time. Yeah,
it was great. It was great to meet you both. So I'll include a link to the site in the video description as well, so anybody can follow that and check that out. And awesome. We'll also check out the other videos that you're doing as well. So I'll be checking those out as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thanks, John Paul. That was brilliant.
All right.